Hi, I read an interesting article today on the financing of the most innovative elements of biotech and the different strategies of financing of DARPA, a part of the Pentagon, and the National Institutes of Health. That got me to thinking about how people make choices. And ultimately, because I'm a big fan of the 2x2 matrix, I thought, well, there are some things which are related to longer term and some things which are related to shorter term gains. So maybe I can put it on a 2x2 matrix and see how the two interact. So every time when somebody makes a choice, ultimately it's about choosing something which can lead to fast gains and also has the risk of fast losses, or go down the well-trodden path, which is much slower, but ultimately will get you to where you want to go. So that type of choice is also a choice which is made at the global level in companies, corporations, and entities. And I thought that that kind of choice had something to do with whether we wanted instant gratification or whether we were thinking of a longer term activity. So the instant gratification I would call a tactical choice, where people would normally say, "Well, I want a bird in the hand then, rather than two um, in the bush." And then I thought, well, actually, if you think about it, having the opportunity to have 50 times more, but requires you to think through the whole process, that's kind of a different choice. That's more of a strategic choice than a tactical one. So I thought, well, if we put the choice matrix around tactics and strategy, how do we actually make the choice? By using more tactical approach or a more strategic one? And then I thought, okay, so strategy is about doing the right things longer term, while tactics is about doing the right things shorter term. So ultimately, it's about being effective versus being efficient, because although the ideal state for all of us is to both be effective and efficient, sometimes we need to make a trade-off of whether we want to be effective or whether we want to be efficient. And I find that quite often in business. Obviously, nobody wants to be either or both ineffective and inefficient. So the 4 on the graph there is something which nobody wants to be, and everybody wants to be on the 1. But I thought, okay, so we have 2 other quadrants. So what are the preferences? Do we prefer a quadrant which currently is number 2, which is to be efficient, although not effective? Or do we prefer a quadrant 2, which is we prefer to be effective, although not efficient? And I've seen companies make that choice differently based on their work culture. And so I thought, okay, now there's something biological about this. And my training and my background is in human sciences. I'm a medic. And I thought, well, ultimately, this has something to do with the biology of thriving when you have a good strategy and a good implementation. Survival, if you have a good strategy but not as good an implementation. Die quickly if you have a bad strategy but you implement it excellently. And die slowly if you have a bad strategy and you don't implement it well enough. So actually, the choice whether to thrive or to die quickly, which was the DARPA choice of the article I read today, with which I started this video, is something which I would call a hunter type of activity. So you either get it or you don't. The thrive or survive strategy is more a farming strategy. So it's more the National Institutes of Health, which when financing innovation, finance it for the longer term. So ultimately, a lot of decisions which can be thought as tactical or strategic ultimately go down to the fact of our preference in choosing the longer term over the shorter term. Thank you for watching.